Data is the best way to manage these passionate discussions around the table. Not to say we can't have these discussions, they're very, very important. But when we're coming to making a decision, being more data-driven takes out the emotional charge.
Hi everyone, I'm Annie Chan from Professional Development Forum and you are listening to the PDF podcast. Professional Development Forum, or PDF for short, was established to help diverse young professionals reach their full potential in the modern workplace. In this episode, we speak with Elisa Choy. Elisa is an economist and data strategist with a magic eye for data. She is a powerhouse speaker who elegantly translates big data and AI into engaging and thought-provoking stories on human behaviour, society, culture, and business. She is founder of Maven Data, Australia's first AI-powered market research agency, and Strategic Data Central, a boutique data analytics consultancy transforming organisational internal data into actionable insights to increase customers, increase sales, and increase margins. Hi, Elisa. Thank you for taking the time to speak with us today. It's great to have you here with us.
Thank you very much for having me, Annie.
So maybe we can start can you tell us a bit about your career background to where you are now, including your early career?
Oh, wow. So I've been in business for about 20 years. 16 years of that have been in corporate roles. My first life in corporate was in finance. So I did, I studied economics and I studied commerce and accounting. I could have been an accountant, but I moved into finance. I did a postgraduate finance honours year, and then I moved into, consulting, investment banking, and then venture capital and private equity. And then GFC hit in 2009, and that made me pivot my career significantly. But I had a couple of redundancies just before making that decision to jump from finance. And then in the last 8 years of my corporate career, I did a variety of things such as marketing services, advertising, sales, analytics, and I worked across various industries. So I've basically had like what I feel is a walking MBA. The only thing I haven't done is law. And then in 2018, I started my first business, Strategic Data Central. I wanted to do my own thing. And just this year in June, I launched Maven Data. So in a nutshell, I've had a bit of a zigzag career. You could call it a bit of snakes and ladders. You climb, and then you slide. And 20 years into the world of business, here I am.
And how does one get into the field to become a data strategist like yourself?
To be honest, the role of data scientist never existed. You would say 2 years ago even. Even now, people don't really know what it is. It's a new area. Essentially, a strategist who works with data. So what that means is that you have to have experience in data from the perspective of analytics, which means you understand from the raw data end all the way through to how to produce an insight. And that is a business skill, predominantly a business skill more than a technical skill as a strategist. And the key thing is to it's old school consulting with a strategic angle, with a finance angle, with a commerce angle, with a human angle. So you basically bring to life data. So I think very simply, it's somebody who can see the possibilities in data and bring people along the journey to help leaders then make much better decisions.
Has your Asian background given you an edge in this data field?
Of course. I would say, not particularly because I'm Asian, but I would say that being from an Asian background genetically and also raised in an Asian household, we do have the tendency to be more numerate. We tend to like to solve problems. We like to be technical. I mean, Asians could do anything, obviously. But in terms of the attributes of why I think I'm good at it, it's I've got that sort of, hunger to succeed and do the right thing and solve problems in a technical way. And I think I'm not saying that only Asians can be good at this stuff, but if you ask that question, that's what I think where the Asianness comes into it. I get asked this question all the time because of my black hair and my Asian skin. So yeah, I hope that answers your question.
Are there any challenges you faced of being a woman in the data field, and how did you overcome them?
Yeah, that's a really good question. Yes, I would say. In the world of data, at the moment, it's, as with many industries, it's highly skewed with more males than females. And, that's going to change. So when I started in analytics 5 years ago, or more than 5 years ago now, 7 years ago, I was the only female in the team. I was working in an organisation that had a centre of excellence, and we had data engineers and data strategists and data scientists, and I was the only girl. So yeah, it was difficult. But then I've come out of finance and account. Those sorts of industries are heavily male dominated. So I was quite used to being the only female in a team. It didn't bother me. But in terms of, I guess, when I started to hit my strides in the business, I think being female, there's an element of we're just better at listening sometimes. And it's interesting when you listen to your clients, they could be your internal clients in a business or an external client. It's really understanding and reading between the lines about what they really want and what they need, and empathizing with how they need your help in their own role as a person. So I think data is not about technology, it's about people. And so in my role as the only female in the team, I was often the person who could be the only person that could explain things to technical stuff to business people. And I guess that's how I started becoming the data whisperer, translating maths to English to turn data into decisions. But it was difficult because sometimes, I'm not one of the boys, but it didn't really stop me. So I wouldn't say it's a challenge. It's just an everyday thing of females in the workplace, to be honest, in this day and age.
And have you ever faced unconscious bias?
Look at me, female, Asian, I'm a mother, I've got so many diversity cards going. Unconscious bias was actually quite a positive thing when I was younger. I remember having an interview for a job in a bank, in a corporate advisory role, and I was being interviewed by a British guy who worked overseas, and he loved my CV. It was a stacked Asian high achieving CV. And one comment that stood out to me, he said, "We need more Asians like you because you're hardworking and you get the job done." That was what he said. He said that to me. So in a way, there was there's unconscious bias and conscious bias, but the bias was positive in my favor because, he just assumed that all Asians were hardworking and smart. So there's good and the bad. I don't get too bothered by it. I grew up in Australia from a very young age. I was at one point the only Asian in the school besides my brother. So you just, it's just the way the world is. We're trying to change that and just bringing more awareness that people don't really understand that they're unconsciously being biased. And I think that's a great conversation to be having. Sometimes people just are unconscious that they're about this. And so, yeah, it doesn't bother me is what I'm saying.
How can you use data to dispassionately answer emotionally charged questions?
Oh, okay. So I love this question. So basically, when everyone has opinions, right? And so when you're making decisions or you're debating something, everyone's got a right to an opinion. And if it's an emotionally charged opinion, that's great. But what tends to, I suppose, put out the fire is if you've got confidence in data to back your view. And so I found that, and that's why I have this business, it's actually to take out the noise from the chatter and the opinions and actually find out really what people care about through data in a way that you can't question the data. You can question our methods, but you just look at our results. You look at the way we've predicted things in the past. My question is everyone's entitled to an opinion, but at the end of the day, it's just an opinion. Just look at the polls. So data is the best way to manage these passionate discussions around the table. Not to say we can't have these discussions. They're very, very important. But when we're coming to making a decision, being more data-driven takes out the emotional charge.
Now, the world is currently watching on the US elections right now, and I saw your latest work on predicting the US elections. Can you explain how you use data and AI to make these predictions?
Okay, so we use the world as the sample, and we use all the online content out there in the market. So we know that there is so much data outside your business, and this is the data that I'm talking about on websites, on on socials, everything outside the firewalls of any business. That's what I call market data. And 90% of the world's data has been created in the last 2 years, and most of it sits on the internet. So when we engage with internet content, right, and we all are online, when we're surfing the web, when we're reading an article, when all the behaviors online as we engage with content, we use AI to pick up how people feel. We measure how people feel, we measure engagement, and we have our own ways of understanding and quantifying this, so that when we pick up on emotions around a particular issue, then when we measure the intensity of the emotion, if we can find something that is emotionally charged through AI, measuring it this way, then we can predict how people will behave. And these predictions of how people behave in this case of the election is how they will vote. And so I've actually been very proud of the work that we've done, because it's the world first methodology to predict how people will vote in an election. And so, so far, we've been pretty good on the money. We've hit, I think, 4 out of 8 states, with I think about another 2 states to go that we'll hit. So I think we'll hit about 6 to 8 states correctly, whereas the polls, you can see they got it grossly wrong. So in contrast to polls, people are asked an opinion. A sample of people are asked an opinion, which then gets extrapolated to the market view. We all know that that system is now flawed, and I'm really hoping that we actually finally, put polls to death, because it just kills democracy.
And what is the best decision that you've made, whether it be in your career or in your life?
The best decision I've made so far has been to finally have the courage to break out of corporate and start my own thing. So it also has been at some points the riskiest and sometimes the stupidest thing to do, but it definitely has been the best thing to do so far. I just made it. You just have to make it work. And at the end of the day, I always knew I wanted to do my own thing in my own way. You just know if it's in your DNA or not. So that's probably the best decision to date so far.
And was there ever a moment where you felt you couldn't do it or do something, and how did you go about that?
Oh, all the time. I'm building a business from scratch, and I'm constantly finding things I need to learn and do. And there are times when I just think, I can't do this. Even just looking at predicting the US election, coming into this, I was not sure that this could work, but I gave it a go. And the way I think about it is, it's a learning opportunity. If I win, if I lose, if I'm successful, if I fail, it's all a learning opportunity. So in that regard, with anything that's new, just give it a go. With anything that makes you feel uncomfortable, it means that you're going to experience growth. Are you a person who likes to grow, or are you happy to stay in your lane? For me, I'd like to grow and be better and expand my capacity. And so that means I need to challenge myself, which means I need to put myself in an uncomfortable position all the time. The mindset is everything is a learning opportunity.
You mentioned earlier you made a pivot in your career before. How did you reinvent yourself after having experienced redundancy?
Yeah, that's a good one. I experienced multiple redundancies in a series of a short time because I didn't listen to what my calling was, if you kind of believe in that sort of stuff. When I decided that finance was no longer right for me, I had to really understand who I was and what I wanted to be. Really goes back to know thyself and be brave. So the first exercise was really uncovering what are my values, what is important to me in my life, and then what are my natural gifts. What's my skill that I am better at than 1,000 people, hands down, right? And putting those two together, how do I apply my God's gifts into the purpose that I am living my values every day. That exercise is quite a deep thinking, internal, introspection type exercise, and it takes time. And you have tools that help you think about that. You have people that can guide and mentor you to help, bounce ideas off and shape your own view. And then you get a point where, okay, you make a decision and then you just give it a go. So when I moved out of finance, I did that exercise. It took quite some time, 6 to 12 months, to be honest. It just doesn't drop on you. You have to just sit with it, mull it, test it, question it, and then feel if it's right for you and then give it a go. So moving from finance to marketing services was just a complete 180. But I felt that it was something that I could give it a go. And also at the end of the day, it's the best thing I've ever done.
I also listened to one of your recent podcasts where you mentioned about one of your dark moments. Could you tell us a bit about that experience, and what advice would you give to young professionals or anyone else that faces a similar situation?
Yes, we have many dark moments in our life. It's all part of life, and particularly in the workplace, I would say. We spend so much time in our lives in work. And it's unfortunate. Dark moments in my life have come about from when people essentially don't understand you or value you or see you. And then it makes you question yourself. Am I valuable? Have I got something worth to say? Am I doing something wrong? And this is, workplace bad behaviour, culture that, is like the bullying stuff that you hear about. It's still systemic. It's indiscriminate. Everyone goes through it. Doesn't mean it's right. So I've had many moments in my career when I've suffered that, and like dark moments when you lose confidence. And how did I get out of it? Well, again, depends on which stage you are at. If you're at the earliest stages of sort of feeling it, self-doubting, if you've got the opportunity to reach out to somebody who can at least help validate how you're feeling, give you support, then it can help you see you through. But then if you don't have that around you, and I've had moments when I haven't had that around me, then you go deeper into this despair. And I've had moments in my life where I have been in utter despair. And that's when you sort of really don't know what is up from down. You can't see any, bright future. And some may say you can get into depression and all the clinical aspects of darkness. But that moment when you just feel, unmotivated, your life is taken out of you, it's really hard. And lucky for me, I've got a beautiful support network who sort of they saw those signs and they were able to reach out and help me through it. But at the end of the day, it's the work that you have to do on yourself that will get yourself out of it. Nobody can pull you out. So what I did was I think I just have a natural tendency for optimism at the end of the day. No matter what, I always am a fighter. I will fight for myself and fight for others. So that kind of got me out of it because I didn't want to just wither away to nothing. But certainly if people are around you that can see it, spot it, and be the hand that reaches out when you're in this epicenter of spin, then that in itself is the first step to dealing with it.
When reflecting back on your journey now, what advice would you give to your younger self?
I would say that just calm down, be patient. Things will come when they come. Doors will open when it's your time. When you're in your younger years, you have so much energy and motivation to do so much. I always felt like I was like a loaded gun, like just ready to go. But with youth, you got to recognize that there is time to build experience and wisdom. And when you start off in a career, you actually don't know anything. You have to come into the world going, I know something of something, but not much of anything. And I think in my earlier years, I kind of was a little bit more arrogant, I have to admit, because I always achieved academic grade, scores, and things were effortless on that front. And that stuff was valued highly in the workplace and valued as external markers of who you are and how valuable you are. But I realized soon that I had a lot to learn just from, being cut down to size a few times, getting rid of the arrogance, thinking that I knew everything. But I never lost the enthusiasm, but it was just more like, just calm down. Things will take time for you to learn. You can't be a CEO in 6 months. Like, it's that sort of, just calm down. Things will come your way when you are ready. So that was just patience. Just enjoy your ride. Life is long, don't forget to smell the roses. There's a beautiful quote by Nietzsche, which is, when you're climbing this mountain, we're always trying to climb a mountain to get higher and achieve and all that, right? Don't forget to stop every now and again and turn around and look at the view.
And what are you working on at the moment?
Well, I'm actually working on rounding out my final prediction, third and final prediction on the US election. So I'm looking specifically at Nevada because that will play a key role in determining who will win. If Biden wins Nevada, he's got the White House. So that's my immediate thing I'm finishing. And then I'm also working on a recut of the Global Wellness Predictions report. So I'm going to hone in on travel. How has travel changed post-COVID? What are the trends in the world and opportunities to engage with travel themes? And I'm going to focus that on the Australian market, because I think we're all ready to travel. Lockdown is over for now. Everyone's excited in the lead up to Christmas. Everyone's keen to get out and connect and see the world. So there are definite benefits to rerunning this travel-focused Global Wellness Predictions report, which is due in November this month.
For anyone that may be interested in whether it be making a career change or getting into the data field, what are some of the key attributes or skills you look for when you hire or make someone stand out?
So for people that catch my eye, that the default is that you must bring some skill of value to the business, and that's you've got either technical skills in data or you've got people skills in strategy or consulting. But aside from that, it's really the most important attribute I look for is, what is your purpose in life and why you're doing what you're doing? We look for people who have a curiosity in the world, who have a passion for making the world a better place, because what we do at Maven is we're trying to change the world one bite at a time. So, for us, what we do is more than just a job. It's more than just data. We are doing our own part to make the world better through data. So it means that we're all passionate about the projects that we work on. We have such variety, and we also work really cohesively with the team, which means we respect each other, we work with integrity, we work efficiently, but we also have a fun time.
So can you explain to us a bit about the different pathways that people can get into if they're interested in the data field?
Speaking from my experience with Maven, we have multidisciplinary needs. So on one hand, we have people who are technical who are working with us, and that's when we're working with data, internal data, and that's your data scientist and data engineer type mob, and they can come from a computer science background or a stats background or a maths background. And as long as they bring some sort of technical skills to cut and dice data, right? That's how I put it. Then there's a place in my business. But there's also many roles that support what comes out in output in the data. So anybody who comes from either business background or have an industry special experience, that's also wanted too, because data is translated. And we need to translate it in context of an industry and communicate it in a way to different types of stakeholders, whether they're, frontline managers up to the board. That requires a whole different set of skills, which I call the people skills and business skills. So, we'd be open to looking at people who have come from all walks of life. They could be from arts with a particular passion for helping the arts industry. They can come from accounting who want to look at, that everybody brings attributes. I don't look at sort of like, buckets. I just go attributes: thinking, curiosity, passion, problem solving, working with people, growth mindset. That's what I look for. And if there's opportunities in our business, which is growing very quickly, if there are opportunities to fit for those attributes, then come along and inquire. That's all I'm going to say. Many opportunities.
So normally, do you advertise the roles through, say, your website, or is it best for someone to, if who's interested in maybe potential roles, to just contact you directly and reach out?
At this stage, I don't do any advertising. It's people, I've been growing organically by people who've sort of contacted me. And at the time, if there's an opportunity, there's not. And I assess, where there's a fit. And then we just keep in touch. So it's pretty light touch. It's not being formal. So I think at this stage, it's just reach out and just, tell me why you're interested in what we're doing, and tell me what you think you can bring to the table. You have to bring something to the table, and then start a conversation that way. And I'll give you a pretty quick turnaround to let you know whether it's a fit or not for now or for future.
And what's the best way for other people to connect or reach out to you?
You can connect with me on LinkedIn. You can connect with me on Insta. I just started a Twitter account 24 hours ago. So there are many ways to contact me, and also through the website. So I'm always open for conversations. People contact me all the time. And it's a great way to connect with, people, and making sure that what we're doing is, in line with what people want and what people need, and always happy to help whichever way we can. If I've got the time, that's probably the big caveat now.
Is there any final advice that you would like to share with our audience, aspiring leaders, or anyone who's aspiring to get into the data field?
Well, there's a lot of opportunities. There are many roles to play. Don't think that you need to be highly technical to get into data. You can come from many walks of life to work in data, because as you can tell from my career, I'm not a data scientist. I don't have a deep technical background, but what I bring is the business side, and that's equally as important. So I always say that it's actually 1 part technical, 2 part people. So don't doubt yourself. Have a go. If you feel like you need to upskill, go upskill. But you don't need to do 3 years of a master's. I'm just telling you, you can do some very smart short courses. You learn on the job, and just be patient. The world needs more smart, passionate problem solvers using data. You'll never be without a job. So yeah, jump in if that's your thing.
Thank you so much, Elisa, for sharing your insights and wisdom with us. Thank you to everyone for listening to the PDF podcast, and hope you have a great day.
Thank you very much.